Welcome, welcome. So, from you can tell from the title, the name of this series of videos I'm gonna do is called Recollections, and the word recollect means to remember, to recall. So I'm gonna tell you, um, recall some particular experiences I've had, and that revolve around my collection of comic books and things like that, toys and stuff like that. And some of them are good, some of them a little funny. And, I just feel like doing it. This is therapeutic. I was told that I should keep a diary. I tried that. That never really worked for me. I used to write poetry. Poetry was a good way to get out a lot of my inner expression, a lot of my inner feelings. But I don't do a lot of poetry anymore. Collecting was something I did to relax me and therapeutic as well. See, this is more than just collecting because it's fun or it's reliving a childhood. It's really not about reliving my childhood as much as it is about it's the mental and the mental and the social and the psychological uh, calmness that it brings me, or release or escapism that comic books and things like that brings to my life. All right. So I don't really know how to do this. I'm just gonna do it. It's not really gonna be in any particular order, but I'm gonna try to keep it chronicle, and I'm not gonna really get it too deep into my personal life per se, just from my perspective. So, from my earliest memory, from what I know, my history, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn Jewish Hospital. And we lived on a block called President Street, which I have no memory of that because there comes a point in your life where, as a child, you grow, you begin to remember defining moments. Be it very very happy moments or very very down moments. And don't get me wrong, my childhood was good. It was a good childhood. It wasn't great. It was good. And obviously, I wasn't born. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but more like a wooden spoon. Let me see what's at my window. Wow, some young boys collecting cans. They're young. I did some stuff when I was young too, man. I used to pack bags at the A&P. And a lot of other grimier stuff, but we'll get into that later. So my point is that, so growing up on this block, um, it was rough. Now the building, for the most part, was an okay building. No heat in the winter most of the time. No AC in the summer. My mom's, she raised. Well, let me get back to the building. Let me describe the building. So I don't even remember the address, but I got it on Google Map, and later on I'm gonna show you a video of that later. We had roaches, mice, rats. We had, holes in the wall that never got fixed, and sometimes we didn't have hot water. But my mother, she kept it as clean and neat as she could, and she taught us to keep it as clean as we could keep it. We weren't pigs or anything like that, and she did her best to raise us. My mother was a single mom. She raised three of us: me, my brother, and my sister. And she was a single mom because I was the firstborn. So my pops left mad early in my life. Left so early that when I did meet him one time, I didn't even know who he was. So my mom had to be like, "Yo, that's your father." I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever," you know. And we have a good relationship today. We didn't have a real close relationship, and we have a decent relationship now. It's workable, you know. My brother, who was second, his father out the picture, just gone. And my sister's father, may he rest in peace. I won't, he passed away. So, but he, so okay, so now you got that picture. So now the second phase of this is that memories from the block. Now, moving on the block, there was a lot of kids that lived in the building, but you know, over time, we were all friends as much as we could be, and remained in contact many years after we moved away. But my experience on that block, between the ages of, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 until maybe, I don't know. It's all a blur, really. But they were good. We were all good kids. We played in the street a lot. Um, and I dealt with a lot of things, because remember, when you're young, you don't even know you're poor. When you're young, you don't know you're poor. You don't know. You're just having fun. You're just running. But I do recall times of going to bed and wasn't a whole lot of food to eat, and my mom's couldn't pay the light bill, and she was on welfare. Back in the day, we used food stamps, and the other kids would tease us about that. Kids can be cruel, and that's true. I experienced that. But she did the best we could. Family members helped as much as they could. My grandmother made sure we had good Christmases. My father's brother, my Uncle Hamza, he was, he gave me a job when I got older, and I remember lots of times going to his shop, and he'd help us out, bring a little envelope back to my mom, and I noticed that when she'd put the envelope deep in my pocket, she'd give it to your mother, and then my mother would give my mother an envelope, and then she'd go out, and a couple of hours later she'd come back with mad groceries. So now I realized then, what he was doing, and much love and respect to my Uncle Hamza, man, for doing the right thing by me and my family. The neighbors, pretty decent neighbors. Back in those days, this was back in the days where the neighbors, looked out for all the neighborhood kids, and the neighborhood kids got along. And when we didn't get along, we'd fight. I didn't always agree with that, because they would let us fight. And but I dealt with a lot of I couldn't fight at all. I was a skinny kid. My brother wasn't a fighter. I wasn't a fighter. Later on I learned that I'm more like a poet. I'm an artist. But I dealt with a lot of issues on that block. That was the block where I first experienced severe bullying. Even like today they talk about bullying and how bad bullying is for the psyche of children. Well, I'm a product of that. I can't stand bullies. I can't stand people who try to intimidate or bully or push me or anyone else around who's weaker than them. I always say, pick on somebody your own size. I experienced a lot of physical abuse, not to the point where I had to be removed, but the beatings I got, I wouldn't do that to my daughter. I wouldn't beat my daughter with a belt. I wouldn't beat my daughter with a switch. I wouldn't beat my daughter with an extension cord. I wouldn't slap her across the face with all my might. I wouldn't punch her in her chest. I wouldn't do those things. But those abuses have resurfaced in my life when I'm dealing with my daughter, and how we deal with conflict in the house. And I had to catch myself on that. So, the bullying was rough. And like I said, growing up in an abusive household, like I said, not overly abusive, just small things. Because my mom was young, so she was still, doing young people do. I'm a kid can real. She was, doing drugs and running around the street. And there was a couple of boyfriends that, in my opinion, they weren't shit. They didn't bring anything to my life but negativity and hardship. In my case, I felt like, and quite frankly, I felt like, looking back on it, we were in the way, and I witnessed a lot of physical abuse towards my mom. I it's, you know, I seen my mom kicked and beaten when she was pregnant. I seen my brother punched in the chest by one of her friends. And you remember, you grew up with these things in your head. You know what I'm saying? You grew up with these things in your head. I mean, I don't. This video tends to run out sometimes, so I'm just gonna stop it real quick and then restart it.